Hey, this is Natasha Nurse, the host of Sisters on Fire IRL series, and I'm really excited to be speaking with Camille Adrienne. She is the CEO and founder of Smudged Life LLC, and she is a certified life coach and intuitive Reiki master. She has a strong background in healthcare, developed while working as a registered respiratory therapist in St. Petersburg, Florida. She's a proud FAMU Rattler, where she obtained a BS in Cardiopulmonary Science on the highest of 7 hills. She continued her educational journey, securing a Master of Public Health from Grand Canyon University, and she continues to further her knowledge as a doctoral student at Saybrook University, working diligently towards a PhD in mind-body medicine, specializing in integrative wellness coaching. She founded Smudged Life to share her personal success with building a consistent and quality mindfulness practice. And Smudged Life is a different kind of Zen. It is mindfulness dipped in melanin, and it is for the culture. It is time for our community to stop coping and start healing. And Camille recognized a great need for this through education, cultural relatability, and POC representation in the holistic healing arena. Despite adversity, she continues to educate on the importance of incorporating mindfulness techniques and traditional healing modalities into one's daily routine. Her workshops focus on the use of aromatherapy, crystal healing, meditation, Reiki, sound therapy, and yoga as an alternative approaches to healing and quality life improvement. And she believes that complete wellness addresses the needs of the mind, the body, and the spirit. Without further ado, Camille, how are you?
I am fantastic.
Awesome. That is quite a bio, and I'm really excited. That you are a sister on fire who is sharing her story with us and for this series and everyone listening. So, I guess my first question is, how did you arrive at wanting to be this like major advocate for wellness and particularly focusing on wellness for our community and people of color?
Um, Personal experience and story. So growing up, I was alone a lot. As far as like being a latchkey kid, my mom was a very hard worker. I watched her blossom into the professional she is today at the expense of, a couple of things, love life and having a child. So building on that experience, I developed a little bit of that go-getter spirit as well, but it led to some things like depression and anxiety as I grew to kind of know myself or learn myself, and then just dealing with the daily struggles of being an African American woman, also being a part of the LGBT community. It was just like dealing with all of that stuff. So I really needed to find an outlet. And while I was going through school, in my undergrad, I tried Western medicine, so antidepressants, counseling, all of that stuff. And counseling's still great, but I did try all of that, and I wasn't finding much success. So I was looking for something else, and I kind of happened upon energy healing and doing some more alternative healing methods to combat the anxiety and depression. And when I found what I felt was like a huge release in my life, I was like, I have to share this with everyone, because I realized so often that a lot of the ways that we as a community deal with anxiety and stress is by coping. We watch our fathers drink Hennessy, and we watch our mother, do whatever it is that they do when they close that door and say, give your mom a minute. And we don't really focus on watching our parents or grandparents and how they healed and dealt. It was always stay out of grown folks' business, and passing that down, that whole, you'll deal with it when you're older versus this is how I healthily deal with when things go wrong. We don't really have those examples. And I was like, hey, the buck stops here. How can I facilitate educating, everyone from young to old on how to better deal with some of the things that go with being Black in America?
Absolutely. Now, I mean, it's a lot to kind of to talk about even in just one sitting, but what would you say, I guess, given the work that you're doing and who you work with, the biggest challenges in our community that causes us to have that anxiety and to not be as well and as mentally, sane as say our counterparts are?
Um, I would have to say, first of all, just what we call epigenetics, things that happened in our families previously. That's kind of passed down in your DNA. That's just basic science. We didn't know, but traumas can be passed down. So, of course, dealing with day-to-day adversity, and then being in the healthcare field, health disparities, unexplained health disparities in our community. But socioeconomic status is a big one. Being poor is a stressor. So that gap causes a lot of issues. Sense of identity, self-identity. So I know a lot of people will be like, oh, that's really far back there. But the concept of not necessarily having set in stone roots, as we know, that comes along with the transatlantic slave trade. So just, again, having that sense of identity, Black American and being of African descent or African American is two different things. So addressing some issues there. I would have to say between socioeconomic conditions and self-identity issues, those are like two major triggers that are in our community that need to be addressed.
Gotcha. And where do you think like media and lack of having diverse representation for people of color, for people of diverse sexual orientation, or do you feel like, based on what you know, is that a major trigger for stress and issues in our community as well, or does that affect us in a different way?
No, it is. Having that sense, having those self-identity issues, or I shouldn't say issues, just not necessarily knowing verbatim where your roots come from can cause a big stress on your life as far as development goes. When you're developing as a child, you want to know where you come from. And so not necessarily having concrete answers to that to identify with cultural stuff. We created our own culture in Black America, and they messed around and gave us Wakanda. So, every Black American is from Wakanda now. That's our hometown now. That's the country in which we come. So like without that representation, so to answer your question, Black Panther was a great representation of us. And again, it gave us a sense of identity. I've never seen so many people flock to, be present in that experience. And again, that definitely reflects our need for identity as Black Americans. So I think it was such a success because of that stress that we kind of have and carry with us. And it did give us, although it may be, make-believe, a false sense of security and knowing, that moving back to where you come from. So yeah, that's having representation, being able to normalize yourself. That definitely deals with your energy and how you look at yourself. So having that in any form, whether it's, our TV shows, we have Grownish now. I mean, we've always had like a little community of Black media, but now it's kind of mainstreaming, and it's so wonderful to see because it allows for other cultures to see what we deal with on the other side. And so breaking that barrier for culture sensitivity, it's easy to be like, hey, you don't know what I'm going through, but now we have shows that, are easily accessible to everyone so that you don't have to ask your Black friend that question. You can actually go watch TV and get a pretty close representation of what it is.
And what are your thoughts on, for me, I've always found it very interesting to see the lack of divide amongst Black people who are, say, African American or Caribbean, like my family, or, African or, European Black. Like, what are your thoughts on stressors that derive from that disjunctiveness within our own community?
Honestly, I feel like the divide is getting better. I have friends from all different backgrounds, all different variations of Black. So Caribbean, of course, and there's that sense of pride since there wasn't a connection again to the roots of it all, that sense of pride and culture in, you know, oh, I'm from Haiti, I'm from Dominican, and that whole like, oh, I'm different from you has kind of, it's starting to fade with the more representation that we get. So the divide, I can feel it, you know, kind of everyone's like, oh, no, we're all the same. You know, it just kind of depends on where you landed. And even, you know, understanding migration, the way history is being taught, the generation that we're in now ask a lot more questions so that, you know, oh, this is where you're from and that's it. We want to know. That's where the ancestries.com and the blackheritage.com are, you know, they're sourcing from. Like, we're all here together. And I think it's beautiful.
Absolutely.
But it definitely can cause some stress.
It is. It is very stressful. I remember when I went to college, you know, for me growing up, both my family's from Jamaica. And so, you know, Jamaican culture is very well known globally, and it's a very prominent type of culture. And there's a lot of pride in who we are as people and what we stand for. And I always found it interesting to when I first, you know, started to interact with more Black people of different backgrounds, just like to hearing their narrative and just wishing that we sometimes as people, especially within our own community to see what makes us more similar as opposed to what makes us different, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, yes, there are differences in how we speak or how we may look or what's important to us, but you know, Black is Black, right? Like when you get down to the basic of it, we've got to stand and have a sense of unity. But with your practice and the type of work you do, I would love to hear a little bit more about like the mindfulness maybe tips or techniques that you think just like on a daily basis that people are neglecting for themselves, and it would really, you know, make their day just more calmer or more peaceful or even just more efficient.
Got you. Well, for all of my clients, I always start them off. So my job is to build a better mindfulness practice. So either you have one and you want to make it better, or you don't have one at all, and that's fine. I start all of my clients, no matter if you're experienced or a beginner, with just a basic 5-minute practice. And I always encourage people to do it either in the morning, right when you wake up, before you put on any hats, any responsibilities, just a being. Don't look at your cell phone. Maybe don't brush your teeth unless your breath will distract you during your meditation, and maybe you might want to brush your teeth. But just before you become or do anything, 5-minute practice. And if you are a night person, you can always do this. If you miss the morning, it's okay. You can do it in the middle of the afternoon or before you go to bed, just the time where you're peaceful. But it's real simple. 5-minute practice. The first thing you do is take a minute and you're thankful. Thankful to yourself, thankful to whatever higher power you believe in. If you don't believe in a higher power, that's fine. Just being thankful for being present and being yourself and being in your own skin. So a full minute of gratitude. Just as soon as you open your eyes, just going right into that thankful energy, that positive energy. Second, breathe. Take a minute to breathe, full deep breaths. Allow yourself to inhale completely, maybe hold for a second or two, and then exhale completely all the way through until that breath is gone, and allow yourself to really just sit with that breath. And then as you deep breathe, find your natural breath, find your natural rhythm towards the end of that minute, and understand where your baseline is. So, step 3, stretch. So we just activated the lungs, we activated air, that's what we need. So stretch. You don't have to be a yogi. If you're more experienced and you feel like doing a full sun salutations, go ahead. But for my beginners, I always tell them it's real simple. All you want to do is a forward fold, or you can bring your knees to chest, or if you're not even that flexible, tense up your body parts one at a time, starting at the base all the way up to your head, and then release. So you just want to activate your muscles. We already activated the lungs. We activated the spirit with being in gratitude. So we're moving forward. So step 4 is to have water. Water is the most cleansing thing you can have. You're made up of mostly water. It should be the first thing that we put into our bodies. And when we drink water first thing, it activates our organs. So again, we're awakening the body. And if you are going to sleep while you're doing this, you can just focus on, you know, being calm while you're doing it. But maybe have a little less water so you don't go to the bathroom. But go ahead and have water, be united, be cleansing, all of that good stuff. And then the last step, which is my favorite step, Always keep a little pen and some paper next to you. So if you're waking up, first thing, write either the first thing that came to your mind, because that'll be the most important. You're coming out of a state of consciousness, so it'll kind of pushed to the front, whatever's the most important to you, write that down, or a positive affirmation or mantra that you can say throughout the day. So I like to tell people to do both, just so that you can track where your thoughts are going. So I tell people to do this every day. It's just 5 minutes, and it allows you to really just be present in the moment, be present in the day, allowing yourself to just be thankful, and then following gives you a kind of a basis of where you're headed. So if you notice your thoughts are negative, you might want to make some changes so that we can have positive thoughts. If your thoughts are positive, what are they positive about? Where's your main focus? So it really gives you a reflective or introspective into self.
I love
That's
it.
it.
Okay.
5-minute practice. Start you off.
I love it. Yeah, very, very helpful. And how would you say having a support system is helpful for being more mindful or being on a journey of mindfulness?
Having a good support system is great for anything that you're trying to do. Being mindful is often a reflection of self, but we have the tendency to take on other people's energy. So that kind of classic mindful, you show me who you're around and I'll show you who you are. So if you're working on a new self and, you're interested in, being more mindful, having people who are already in their practice or interested in starting a practice who are also on that good energy kind of feel, it'll keep you accountable. And it'll also help you learn and grow, because generally when we experience something great, we want to teach people. So something you might not know, somebody in your support group is going to know, friends, family, whatever, and you'll start sharing books and ideas and, different techniques, and generally just building that sense of community. So you want to keep like-minded people around you, and you don't want people who are going to, kind of hinder that for you, because this process, although personal, can be great when shared with friends.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Very much so. I think it's important. And with that, then I would also say, before we move on to more talking about Sisters on Fire, for resources, as a coach, as an educator, as a thought leader in this space, what would you say is like, one or two books that if someone is listening right now and they're like, oh my God, I need to be more mindful. Thank you. This is amazing. Where what should they go, what should they read, outside of like the resources available through you as well?
Yeah, of course. They can always follow me for more information. But two of my favorite things or books to recommend is one, The Law of Attraction, just because we have power in our thoughts and our words, and we are the master manifestors of our lives, being the total curator of our lives. So I always want people to understand that power. And The Alchemist. That's also a really, really good book. It was one of the first books. It's actually the book that triggered me into being more mindful and just on a self-discovery kind of path, and understanding that everything I needed was already here. And, I just kind of had to find it. So those are my two recommendations, Law of Attraction and The Alchemist.
Love it. Okay. So why we are speaking today is because obviously everyone listening can hear you're very passionate and you are, succeeding at what you're doing and unapologetically awesome. And so I guess I'd love to hear from you. How would you define the term sister on fire?
Ooh, sister on fire. Well, the element of fire itself is powerful and it's hot, and it has an element of sexiness to it, but again, it commands the room, anything light driven. So being on fire means you are here, you are vibrant, you are ready to war. And so being a sister on fire just kind of channels that feminine energy into that element, and it's just being dope as like, I want to say it, but you just
Dope AF, yeah.
you got what I'm saying.
Yes, dope AF. Gotcha.
Yes.
Very nice. Okay. So I really love this. Okay. So now who were women in your life that lived up to that definition?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I am blessed with having a network of women around me as a small business owners, other small business owners who support me and help me learn and grow. Gosh, I don't want to miss anyone, but let me see. Of course, I would say Paula. She runs a online crystal boutique, Chakra Zulu Crystals. She's amazing. Christina Ayers, who runs Blue Safe Eco Boutique. These women are in Tampa. Georgia Dawkins is like one of my closest friends. I love her. She's so inspiring. Oh man, I don't know. I can like personal, my mom and my little sister.
Oh,
I have two, yes, I have two little sisters. My one little sister, she freaking knows how to speak Mandarin. I think that's crazy. And my other little sister is an amazing artist, and to watch them so young, they inspire me to be great. And so when I think of, even though they're little, like, I guess they're not little, I'm a little older. They're teenagers about to go to college, but they definitely qualify for me.
I love that. That's awesome. Okay. And what would you say has been the most meaningful lesson learned as an entrepreneur and just in your professional career so far?
Oh, most meaningful lesson learned. Gosh, trust yourself.
Mm.
Yes, that it is, everything is going to feel like you are falling.
Mm.
But that's what makes you special, is you build wings on the way down. Yeah, dismantling my life has been interesting. So I was quote unquote the successful Black woman. I was a respiratory therapist. I had a great salary. I drove the nice BMW, great house. I had all of that. But I realized that, I quote unquote made it, you could say. I wasn't satisfied. I still wasn't fulfilled. And so it's scary, but I let everything go. I sold all of my possessions. I got rid of my apartment. I decided to try to build this minimalist lifestyle. So watching all of that dismantle and then putting all of my efforts into my business, that's where it is, like putting all of your efforts into your business. It's scary. It's terrifying, but you're in control. And knowing that is worth everything. I'm in control of my time. I'm in control of what I do. My success and failure all depend on me. There is no excuses. And when all the excuses are gone, you really learn about yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's nothing, I think I completely agree. I think there is, even though it doesn't sound like it would make sense, but yeah, there's so much freedom in entrepreneurship because it's finally up to you, right? You can't look to someone else and say, this is what your schedule has to be, or this is how successful you can be, or this is how much money you can earn, or this is, it's all like you literally have the power to decide how high you want to soar. And it's invigorating, and it can be a little bit overwhelming to some, but I think overall, if you fall in love with the process and you love what you do, then it's absolutely worth it. And you never look back, right? You're like, wow, this is my life, right? And this is amazing. So very cool.
Yeah.
Now, I guess I would say just the next question is, if people are listening and they want to work with you, they want to learn more about your story, they want to be more mindful and make their lives better in a way that has more peace and has more purpose and fulfillment to them. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you? And then, of course, if you have any events or upcoming things that you'd want to announce, feel free to share the details.
All right. The easiest way to get to me is, of course, go to the website, www.smudgedlife.com, even though we're doing a complete website overhaul. Any of the social media outlets, it's real simple, at The Smudged Life. I answer my DMs. You can slide in the DM. And I do... I do online coaching, and energy work, so you have that option if you're far. If you're in the Florida area, I do concierge stuff, so literally just go ahead, any of those modalities, or email me, whatever. I will answer, I'll get back to you, and we can start building your personal practice. As far as events coming up, I have, if anyone is interested in learning how to do Reiki, we can talk about that too. Don't know if everyone knows what Reiki is, but it's a healing practice. I teach classes here, and I have a class coming up at Kodawara Yoga Studio in Tampa, Florida on May 19th from 12:30 to 4:30. So.
Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. So, Camille, I applaud you for committing to the fact that you realized you weren't happy and you did something about it, right? Which is like better than 90% of people, right? Most people are just on this autopilot of just like, oh, life is meant to be unhappy. I'm meant to just, kind of be this robot, and they put
Pay
themselves
bills and die.
yeah, right. They're these cage birds, and as Maya Angelou shared with us, right, that you can be a free bird. You can, share your voice and live the life you want to, but it is up to you. And I think everyone listening has heard, a little bit of what they need to do, and I think mindfulness is definitely a part of that process. So thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing, how people can get in touch with you and be more in line with the life that they want for themselves. And just thank you for being you. You're a sister on fire, and it's an honor to speak with you and get to know you a little bit more.
You are most welcome. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm so glad. I'm so thankful for you. This is great. I love the highlight. We need this, so it's wonderful.